Live from the Injured on the Go Just Call Mo studio.
It's a blast!
It's Orlando's own Tom and Dan.
Welcome to A Corporate Time with Tom and Dan. I'm Tom.
I am Dan. We're live on Twitch and YouTube right now, and you can probably see there's a pretty famous face on there that isn't our face, and we're going to get to that in just a second.
Well, he's going to be at Hard Rock Live July 25th for his Take a Banana for a Ride tour, which is eventually going to be a Broadway show.
This is huge, yeah.
Get your tickets now. Roastmaster General himself, Jeff Ross, is on the line. How you doing, Jeff?
What's up, fellas? Thanks for having me on. I'm in bed.
Hey, well, that's even cooler. I like it when we get to talk to, famous friends and they're doing things that we don't think you do. Like
lay in bed.
Yeah, like we don't think of you laying in bed. We also don't think about you putting together an awesome one-man show. Congratulations on this is a very big deal that you're taking this thing to Broadway, and those of us that live in Florida get the opportunity to see it before you actually do that, correct?
It's true. Two things I've never done: an interview in bed. I feel like this is as close to OnlyFans as I'll ever get.
We were just talking about that. I love it.
And then I've never done a theatrical experience like I'm bringing to Orlando. And the Orlando crowd will be one of the first audiences to see it before it goes to Broadway. So I'm still working on it. It's totally the same but different than stuff you've seen me do. So I wanted to surprise my audience and get the word out. And it's a theatrical, cathartic experience. And I think it'll make people feel good.
Jeff, have you considered bringing the bed on stage, like kind of a Gallagher callback maybe?
I can see me at 90 years old being in bed on stage with a microphone.
You know, that Gallagher special when he pulls the condom out of the giant couch. It's a hilarious special. I had no business watching that as a child.
That's so funny.
Jeff,
that's so funny. Yeah.
I've always wanted to ask you this because from watching all the roasts throughout the years, I've always wondered what makes a really good roastee or guest of honor, and what your opinion on that is. I'll just ask you that question. What makes a good guest of honor in a roast?
Well, I think the recipe there is to get somebody who has celebrating something, a birthday, a retirement. So there's something to go on.
Okay.
And also they have to be so made, like thick skin, that the jokes bounce off them and they're not tensed up the whole time. If they're having fun, everybody has fun. And I think it's got to be somebody that's beloved, that has a lot of fans to back up all the insults. And the yin yang of that makes a great roast.
Yeah, and it had been how long had it been before we got the Brady roast? So it had been a while, right?
Oh, it'd been a solid 5 years. So yeah, I started writing this one-man show because I was like, I don't know if we're doing any more roasts.
Right.
Everybody was so woke during the pandemic, and afterwards I was like, I got to start doing something on my own where I can roast the fans. Because I don't know how many big stars are going to do this anymore. Everybody's getting canceled and afraid of offending. I was like, let me just start doing a show where I can bring the fans up on stage and roast them. They don't get offended. And the show kind of came out of the idea of me losing Norm and Gilbert and Saget all in a few months. I was like, holy mackerel, I'm the last one to tell the story here. And these guys were like my roast gods, my roast, Mount Roastmore.
Yeah,
so I was like, I got to pay tribute to them somehow. So I started writing this show in between roasts. And then when Tom Brady was like, yeah, all right, I'm in, dude. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, I'm all set up here, man. This is incredible.
Did it always take the sort of the family? I know that with this, show, you're kind of weaving in some multimedia, some behind the scenes stuff of your family. Was that always an intention, or as the story was sort of being written, you were like, oh God, I got to put this stuff in there?
A little bit of both. I started writing this show in the 90s as a young comic. Wow. And I didn't have the emotional fortitude to really do it all the time. I performed it 20 times at comedy festivals and little, just starting out. I wasn't the roast master yet. I hadn't done anything like that yet. So it was just this little sensitive slice of life about me doing open mics, living with my 80-year-old grandfather. My parents were deceased when I was in high school. So I had this weird sort of comedy beginning living with my Pop Jack. He was kind of my best friend, and all my friends became his friends, and I'd play guitar and he'd sing the blues and he'd give me bus fare and I'd go into the city and he'd always give me a banana and tell me to take a banana for the ride. And there I was running through New York trying not to get stuck in traffic or low in potassium with my banana in my jacket pocket.
That's awesome, man. What a story.
And, yeah, it was crazy times. So the show is kind of like an origin story meets this kind of fun, I don't know. There's a lot of like blue collar Jewish pride in there that the Florida fans might like.
Sure, yeah.
There's a lot of hardcore roasting at the end. If you like dogs, I tell a couple of really, really great, sweet stories about my dogs during the pandemic. So it's really about love and resilience and bouncing back, and it's going to be really cathartic for the audience. It's really cathartic for me. And then at the end, the whole thing has a big orgasmic release when I start blasting into volunteers on stage.
It does. It sounds amazing. I love the process of the whole night. It sounds incredible.
Jeff, you think growing up with your grandfather kind of made you a tougher individual? Because that generation, my dad died when I was young, and my grandfather, I spent a lot of time with him, and that's a insanely tough generation. That the way they grew up and the way, it's like they have thick skin. So you think that was one of the causes of your thick skin?
Absolutely. Learning from my grandfather, especially, who was who was a construction worker during World War II. And my Uncle Murray was an Army medic during World War II. It's like these guys. I'm wearing my Pop Jack's ring right now. It's
cool.
It's a steel bolt from a Nazi U-boat that the Navy captured.
Oh, that's crazy.
I tell the whole story in the show about my grandfather being a merchant marine in Baltimore and this freaking U-boat showing up and him pulling the ring off and the bolt off and sanding it down, making it a ring, wore it till the day he died, and I pulled it off him in the hospital, and now I wear it. And it's a big character in the show. So there's a lot of sentimental stories, powerful stories. But it never goes more than a few minutes without cracking your ass up.
Yeah.
That's the kind of the magic of it, if you will, is that it's like a roaster coaster, I call it.
Yeah, I love it. Do you have people that are constantly trying to get you to roast them, and maybe you're not in the mood, or you're like, you don't?
Yes.
Yeah. Because you're the guy, and then
that's got to be annoying,
and it's got to be crazy. You're like at Olive Garden with like a friend, trying to hide. Not Olive Garden, you wouldn't be there, but you know what I mean.
Do it to me.
Yeah.
Call me fat, Jeff.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? Like, it's a great question. I feel like, maybe 10, 15 years ago, I had a lot of that. But I think I've gotten so ruthless the last few years, people are less inclined to go, roast me.
Yeah.
Like, in the beginning, it was an honor. Now they're afraid.
For sure.
Now, that was a pretty good question, but here's a great one. Jeff, have you ever been involved with like a roast gone bad? Like, in my experience, if somebody gets convinced to get on stage but they don't really want it, like, that's a terrible roast. Have you ever like roasted somebody who didn't want it and it felt like bad to you?
I'm so careful about vetting and volunteers. I don't let that happen. But if somebody comes up and they don't realize they're up there or they're drunk, I just kick them off, because nobody gets a free roast. You got to earn that thing. So I'm pretty careful. That having been said, I guess there's been a few lunatics of, mostly women who will just slap me, but just because they're up there for the attention in a casino, which is kind of fun.
The only one that I've seen that was making me uncomfortable recently was, I think, you, and it was like, and Donnell was on it, and it was.
Oh yeah.
That one was, I don't know if you can talk about that, but that one was wild because Donnell wasn't taking it well. He was not having a good night.
Donnell made 3 more reaction videos. I think he'll be okay.
Yeah.
Well,
he loved it. He came in all whacked up on whatever he was drinking that night at Roast Battle. That's where we go. That's where we go to unwind and get our yayas out.
Yeah.
He might have been a little nuts that first night, but I love Donnell so much that he can do anything he wants on my show.
Yeah, we've had him in here, man. He's a funny dude. Hilariously funny dude.
Jeff, I recently watched the Martha Stewart documentary, and part of that documentary was the Martha Stewart roast, and that what kind of helped her get back into the entertainment and started like America realized a side of Martha Stewart they hadn't seen before. So I was just curious, like during that roast, going into it, did you know, like, were you worried about it working or not?
No, actually, I booked Martha Stewart to roast Bieber because I had done a non-televised roast with Martha Stewart at the Friars Club years earlier. So I knew that her delivery was really good and she would commit to it and let us writers craft her something really self-aware and funny. So I got to give her credit right there for doing that and being brave enough to go out of her comfort zone and try something provocative. And it paid off. Look at it. Here we are 11 years later. She's got a doc about it. It's incredible. Roasting is, you just never know where it's going to take you.
Is there some sort of equation with who is involved in the dais and how to put that together to make a successful roast? I'm just curious of your process of that, like strangers versus friends and that kind of thing.
Right, the lineup.
You know, I grew up in the wedding business. My family were caterers, so I look at it like throwing a party. You want, you know, a good mix, and you want people who don't necessarily know each other to get to know each other and create a little bit of spark. And there's a lot that goes into all of that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's almost like, I've never thought about the idea of the mixing of it being as important as a recipe, you know, its ingredients. So, I've never thought about that. Yeah, that's crazy, man. Have you? Well, no. I was going to say, have there ever been anybody that begged you too much to be a part of it, or anybody that begged you famous to roast them, and you're like, we're not.
Almost if you want it too much, it doesn't seem good either.
Oh, all the time, man. Everybody, you know, as soon as they saw the numbers for the Tom Brady roast, everybody wants in. You know, everybody wants to be the center of attention, even when there's a target on their back.
Roast of Trump coming soon. It sounds like. Jeff, do you have a single favorite roast performance? Like, you brought him up. For me, it's that one where like Norm sat on stage and did a crossword puzzle during the whole roast and then just got up and destroyed. Like, do you have a single favorite performance that stands out in your mind?
It's such a good question. You know, a single favorite performance. I guess I look back at Gilbert Gottfried's Aristocrats performance.
The 9/11 one. Yeah.
Or maybe the Roseanne roast, which is easier to look up, where he called her Rosilla, like Godzilla. Like those long, crazy Gilbert ones, they always kind of stand out to me. I loved Greg Giraldo's opening roasts all the time. I love seeing Jeselnik's roasts, Whitney, you know, the old Sarah Silverman one from the James Franco roast I love.
Oh, yes.
There's so many good ones that, for me, that they all bring back a whole thing. Everybody on the Pam Anderson roast, that was one of the funnest nights of comedy I've ever been a part of. I don't think anyone killed as hard at their roast as Joan Rivers, and during her rebuttal was so funny. So, man, this stuff just goes on and on for me of like great life memories.
What about non-comic wise? Who was the best civilian like on stage for you?
Snoop. I mean, I don't know if he's a civilian, but he could have easily been a comedian if he wasn't Snoop. And I love that. Obviously, Martha Stewart is legendary. I thought Edward Norton was great at the Bruce Willis roast.
Okay.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. I forgot about the Bruce Willis roast.
Yeah, so did he.
Yeah.
That's why you're the best.
That's it. And you can see that.
I love Bruce, my Jersey homie.
But
But I don't know what kind of people are going to come see me in Orlando. What kind of roast fans you got down there?
our listeners, they
Crazy. They'll love you. They're wild.
You know, our listeners like busting balls. Like, we do that a lot on the show. And that was my last question for you, Jeff. Like, there does seem to be two types of people, like where they take busting balls as a love language, and then or you take it as an insult or you're offended by it. Like, and so like I've always taken it as a love language. I do that to my friends. It seems like busting your friends' balls is like my version of a hug. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, and it's like if you don't have that, I guess then you're a horrible guest of honor, or you're not. You know, you'll never be involved in a roast, right?
Well, you got to have thick skin. You got to be up for it. East Coast people, Florida people, they've been through so much crap. Like, I feel like they need this. Like, you got to try to penetrate like all the craziness of the world. And I think it's like, I think if you laugh a little, it sounds corny, but it really is like healing, laughing at yourself, letting stuff go, letting stuff fall away. And I do feel like people are walking out of my shows with a smile that they may not have on a regular day. And that means the most to me. It sounds corny, but it's really how I feel.
No, we need that now, man. Hey, Jeff, thank you so much for the time, man. We appreciate it. We'll see you on July 25th at the Hard Rock Live.
Yep. And
I haven't been there yet. I'm psyched to check it out.
It's good,
oh
man.
yeah, it's a good room.
Great venue, man. You got a good one. And hey,
one of the best green rooms in Florida.
100%. And we hope we get a chance to have you in studio sometime or do this again. Thanks again for the time.
I
man.
love it. I appreciate you guys and all your great questions and getting the word out.
Take care, man.
Thanks, Jeff.
All right.
ya.
See you soon.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Well, actually, only Ross and I ask great questions. Only two of us ask great questions.
Hold on a second.
Hold on a second. I just want to make sure two of us. There's
Yes.
two people on this show that ask great questions. Now, one of them normally doesn't ask a great question. I just want to point this out.
And-
Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up. If he's normally doesn't ask great questions, let's give it up for me.
I
I don't ask good questions.
I was gonna give it to you,
But
Dan.
you do
'cause-
ask good questions,
But I
Ross.
took two big swings and one of them was a whiff. I got a hit off.
It's all right.
But I got one big whiff off too.
That's all right.
You got a great question out of that one goes to you, Dan.
Say what you will, but I'm pretty sure I heard Jeff Ross say you had an excellent question, sir.
Yes.
So, I mean, I just want to make sure that...
I'm going to make the argument that my question was a good question that Jeff refused to answer and go into.
I didn't think he refused to answer. He was an open
No,
book.
Put it on
he
the
was
guest.
an open book.
I'm just saying
He was an open book. We're selling
Jeff's
tickets right
fault.
now. Oh, we're selling tickets right now.
I'm just saying that my question about how you put together a dais, it
Right.
was a top tier.
I liked it. It was a good question.
Because I wanted them to go into, okay, well.
Wait, what did he say after he asked that question?
Oh, he just says, yeah,
He's
there's
like,
it's all
He
part
did.
of it.
He
He
kind of
sighed. He sighed a little bit.
You
Yeah.
didn't want to answer, but that was the interesting question. And if he would have answered, that would have been the best question.
He kind of did the like, oh, everybody knows that's a difficult thing to do. Right? It's
No,
a
but
stew.
there has to be
His
some-
answer was it's a stew.
There has to be some sort of meeting where we're like, okay, well, let's get some, like, I know it's about famous people. Well, you got to get some people that know this, the guest of honor, because that helps it too. If everybody doesn't know him, then it doesn't
that
work
was his
as well.
answer.
That wasn't his answer. No, you didn't say nothing.
You're just saying what he
Yeah,
said.
you didn't say
You're
nothing.
just saying what he
You
said.
gave me nothing. You just said, yeah, it's complicated. You didn't go into like the meeting process, or it's like you're gonna do half super famous, half
Well, he said
famous
it's all
that
that.
know
I
some
think that's
people.
what he said. He said it's all that.
Basically.
No, then we need to get someone that really knows him, but the audience doesn't know they know him, and then behind the scenes, what I really wanted to ask him, which would have been the best question.
Okay.
Oh, now we're getting into like.
You play Jeff Ross.
But
Pretend to
everybody
be
wants
Jeff
to know.
Ross.
I want to know if the
Hold on. Let me
You're
get into
the new
position.
character called Ross Jeff.
I'm Jeff Ross now.
Look at the camera. I don't know if you can see it.
it's also
I wanted to talk about that. Let's talk about that.
it's also hard to even understand what good questions are when you're laying in
He
bed.
looked like Ziggy. He
At least
looked like a nerd. You know the nerds?
sit at the edge of your
You
bed.
know nerds? The candy nerds? He looked like a flesh-colored nerd because all you could see was his nose and his head.
I don't think I'll ever be as famous enough to like just do an
To
interview.
phone it in?
Hotel bedroom.
Just while you're laying, like you didn't even like
No,
sit
you've
up in the
done
bed
it.
and like.
You used to do that on other local podcasts you'd be on.
No, I give it 100% every single time if I show up.
And that was a fancy ass bed he was in. That
was a fancy
headboard,
bed.
that was fancy.
Yeah, it was a very fancy. Then he got up, and I thought we were going to see something around his apartment, but then he angled it down real fast. I think he was doing drugs.
This would have been the best question, which I already know the answer to.
Okay.
Which
All
by
right.
the way, he would have not have given us
Should
the
we
answer.
give you our? Should me and
Okay.
Ross give you our
Yeah.
medals now?
So, all right.
because it's such a good
So
question.
here's the
You
best.
know what? Call him back. I think he deserves to hear this.
I do have his iPhone
Yeah,
number.
call him
He
back.
called me from him his regular. Like you would think the
He's like,
celebrities
"Yeah,
would.
Let's interrupt Chip and Chet in Montreal. Or
I'm
whoever he's
on the
talking to right now.
toilet.
He's taking a big dump.
Okay, all right. This would have been the best question, which I already know the answer to, which is the best.
Which gives you the
answer.
most. Doesn't that give you the most satisfaction? Is when you ask a great question that you know the answer to, and he tells you the answer you already know.
But
I
I
love this guy.
knew
He knows he'd win the gold medal at the 40 meters already and not having even run it. It's amazing.
But I knew that he wouldn't give this answer. He wouldn't tell the truth. So therefore,
Okay.
I didn't even ask about the best question.
You didn't ask the
And
best
it's
question
Jeff's fault.
because you knew he wouldn't answer it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I actually no. Here's
and
where,
I'll tell you what it
Here's
is.
where you're gonna get angry at me,
Sure,
Ross. When
sure.
he says things like that,
It kinda makes sense.
It kind of charms me
Yeah,
back in, and
I
I'm like,
gotcha.
I love this guy.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
such a dumb thing to say, but I love
So-
it. I love it.
During the Tom Brady roast, and we talked about this, Jeff Ross makes a joke about Robert Kraft, right? The old massage.
Oh yeah, and then
joke.
Brady made a face.
And then Brady came up to him and he's like,
Hey,
you know,
knock that ass off.
knock that S off.
Right.
And then it seemed serious, and everybody's like, "Ooh, like a real something happened there."
Right.
Yeah. And then my question was being, was that planned?
Right.
And it seemed like pre-production, because I'm sure Brady had a meeting with everybody, right? And then Brady's like, "Hey,
when do you want me to be mad?
There's one thing that I'd rather that not everybody on the dais starts making jokes about, because for sure everybody's gonna work into a Robert Kraft Asian handy joke. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like at the massage parlor.
It's right there.
And and it's a big news, and
Who is
everybody
Asian Andy?
Asian handy. I said handy. It's hard for me
It's
to
a new character I'm doing. Where do you say, I can't do his voice on the show, but off the show I can do a new character I'm doing called Asian Andy.
What if he speaks perfect British English?
Hello, it's me, Asian Andy. I'm just happy to look Asian on you.
And I imagine they sat there and then they're, Tom Brady's a smart guy, and then Jeff Ross,
Debatable.
and then they all sat there and they're like, all right,
Almost
well,
dropped a trophy in Tampa Bay.
how do we
We need some tension here.
Well,
What if we have Asian Andy come out? Hello, y'all.
because the audience is going to be waiting for the Kraft massage jokes, right?
Yes.
So we need to bring it up and then quickly
We need to
Dispel it.
We need
Dispel
to
it.
go hard, get one out, and then
Yeah.
chop the hammer down.
and then
Make
that-
everybody else afraid to do them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Or even like the dais knows they're professional. They're all getting paid, especially
And they already know
Brady
what
got
joke-
paid $25 million for being involved
Oh,
with
I
that.
didn't know
Like,
that.
dude. That's
Wow.
what Tom Brady got.
I did not know that. Did we talk about that?
Yeah, I think it got released after. But
Oh my
$25 million is a pretty.
Oh, I
that's
feel a lot better for a lot of the mean things they said then.
Yeah.
Yeah, Netflix just throws money away, though. They're
Yeah.
not good at business.
But I'm sure they paid Kevin Hart and everybody else there too. Everybody got paid, so they all knew. But I imagine there was a meeting, and Jeff Ross is like, "All right, this is how I'll do it."
And he's
I'll-
in bed during this meeting, too.
He's like, "I'll bring it up. I'll make the joke because I'm the roast master, and then it'll seem like I went too far. And then you say, cut
Well, he
that
is
S
going
off."
too far. He's
Yeah.
setting the precedent that they
But-
aren't afraid to do it, but it's also controlled.
Yes, yeah. And then
Yeah.
Brady said, knock that S off. That was all planned. And then for the rest of the night, the audience was like, oh, he got
Yeah.
really mad. And so the rest, it's like, that's all
It's like in
part of it.
wrestling when they would say, it's very similar, like WWE, back in the day when it was WWF, they'd be like, it's a brawn panties match, and you'd never know whose boobs will fall out. And you'd watch a little bit of the match, and then one ass would be a bare ass. They'd immediately show a bare ass and then cover it up. They don't even need to do anything else. The precedent has already been set for nudity. They don't even need to do topless now. Because they've just set the precedent that it could go in that direction. So you just don't make it go in that direction. You're disappointed, but it could have. But it never could have.
So that was the best question that I know he wasn't going to answer, because he wouldn't have said that was he was like, oh, no, because he wants
Better
to
take
keep
your
the
medal
rules.
off, buddy.
I'm
I'm
just saying.
taking mine off. I know what I've been beat. I know what I've had. I know what I've had a better question asked than my question.
Tom's like on the sideline watching the guy miss the field goal and being like, I would have kicked that.
Is it gonna bother you Is it gonna bother you all day?
Oh, more
That
than all day.
You're the
More than all
only
day.
one.
Yeah,
You're the
more.
only one that did. And I
Yeah,
normally don't get them. Because why?
Look at my
Everybody knows
paper.
why.
Look at
Because
my
I don't
pa-
care.
You're driving the ship, too, a lot of times.
Look
You
at
don't
my
even get to-
paper of GD questions. All good.
Those are all. I
mean, 1C.
I have a little. I drew a character. I drew the character from Jeff's Bagel Run. On my baby.
Oh God! All right,
Get out of here.
Let's take a break. When we come back, I want to talk about the Pee Wee Herman documentary. Have you seen that, Ross?
No.
Okay, it is
That's
really good.
It's when you stick your finger through your zipper and just wiggle it.
And
it's the Pee Wee Herman documentary.
I won't ruin anything, but I have a couple takes about it that I want to discuss because there was so much I didn't know about Pee Wee
you
Herman.
came in pretty hyped about this.
It was good.
Yeah.
I said it's on HBO, so
Made
or
me
Max.
sad that you didn't celebrate Paul Rubens while he was alive because the dude's legit badass actor.
Yeah, no, I saw him in like Blow and stuff and
Yeah, he's
other
great.
movies, and I remember when that came out. But I never even really knew the history of Pee Wee Herman or stuff, But it was
I
such
knew
a
some of it, not as much as you know now.
But it was the documentary tells you, and like I said, I'm not going to ruin anything, but I just want to talk about Pee Wee Herman and he dies, and and also
Spoiler: Cherry is dead.
Oh.
it is sad how little he made. Like I want to discuss some numbers of like other influencers that
That
may have
Playhouse was in Malibu.
made 5 times more than he has that you wouldn't even recognize their names nowadays. You know what I'm saying? Like it's insane how big of a cultural icon.
Are we gonna take a break or are we getting into it?
Oh,
I'll-
sorry.
Let's take a break.
Well, let's just all right, yeah.
He's still bad about the question. He was trying to turn that into a question. All right, we'll be right back.
Welcome back to A Corporate Time. Ross is here. How you doing,
Hey
Ross?
guys.
So, Ross, where are you going to be at coming up here?
Oh gosh, you know what? This airs this week on Real Radio, so I will promote the fact that I will be at Framework Coffee on Saturday for a What Do You Want From Us Live.
Hey.
All right, awesome.
We got Shaw Smith, we got Madison Bakich, and we got another comedian whose name escapes me at the moment.
There you go.
Oh no, it's Eric Feeling from the Offensive Line Podcast. It's Eric Feeling, so it's going to be a real good show.
I can't believe you pulled that out. That was amazing. Well done. Well done. I love a good save.
So we have a bunch of things that me and Daniel were kicking around this morning.
Tons of just little things that happen over the weekend. And
Yeah, it's a lot of like trash and soccer balls. You guys should pick up in here. I
Yeah, we
don't-
really should. The place has kind of gone to hell since we have no female influence whatsoever in this room. Oh, by the way, Maisie would like to ask you, and now's a good enough time because we're talking about a dirty studio. She wants to ask you if Thursday can be your first day, and she wants to show up promptly at 1 p.m.
Yeah.
1 p.m. She's gonna scoot her scooter down here and start. She wants to do 1 to 3 is her work day. She said.
What's her title?
absolutely.
We don't know yet.
Okay.
We're just gonna get some preliminary organization and cleaning.
Awesome.
Yeah, we
Dude.
and she said, "Are you still paying her $40 an hour?"
So I'll pay her whatever
Okay.
because this is what I do know. Maisie is like the those athletes in high school that play a little basketball, a little bit of football, but
Charlie Ward.
They have all the the genetics that you need to, and so as an NFL coach, you're just like, well, let's get him on the team. I'll teach him how to be a tight end.
Yeah.
He's got he's 6'4".
Who knows what she could do?
Yeah, he's
Right.
260, pure muscle.
Yeah.
Like he's got good hands. Like that's all you need, and
I can
fast
make him.
twitch.
I can make him what I want.
So she's a hard worker. She's a grinder.
She
So
is.
as soon as she gets in here, I'm gonna immediately teach her social media. That's what we really need. To
I mean,
do.
if you do want her to do that, she will do it. I
Yeah,
mean, like she's taking this a little more serious than. It's funny.
Tommy
'cause-
Max Everwood.
No.
They've never asked to work for me, Ross.
No,
one time.
I don't bring up a lot of these things because they're not funny. And even Andrea asked me this morning, do you want to know what they did yesterday, Andrea and Maisie? I wasn't even planning on talking about this, but it fits in perfectly.
They alphabetized
No,
something.
Aunt Maisie, you're not off.
Uh-huh.
Maisie has a friend, shout out to Pearl, who, and her friend Pearl said, hey, I do my own laundry. And then May's like, oh, well, she does her own laundry. And I think it's because she has certain outfits that she wants to wear.
Yeah.
And if they're not clean, well, then how do you get them clean? Well, somebody's going to teach me how to do laundry. So she begged Andrea to teach her how to do laundry yesterday. And that's how they celebrated our good men and women that have fought hard for this country and possibly given their lives.
That's what they fought for.
Yeah, they fought for the freedom for my wife to
that-
teach my daughter how to do laundry.
That's specifically what my pop-up fought for.
He's saluting harder than he's ever saluted.
Yeah.
Funny, at the same age, I remember my friend Ricky, we went off in the woods and he taught me how to smoke. He stole one of his dad's cigarettes. But now, your daughter, their friends, they're like, you should learn how to do laundry.
It's not funny, and it's not what I want to do because I'm sitting in the garage with Dansby and we're having beers, listening to music and just screwing around. But she wanted to learn how to do laundry.
Yeah.
It's funny because I was talking to my mom about this yesterday because I took her on the boat for her birthday.
Nice.
It's her birthday tomorrow, actually.
Happy birthday, Mama Van.
And so she was like, and she listens to this, so she'll laugh. But she's like, I never really taught you how to do anything. I just delivered a egg sandwich to you every. I wake up, it's next to my bed. I just eat it on the floor.
Yeah. And that's what you do for your boys.
Oh, yeah. The tradition continues.
And then I never taught you how to do laundry or clean or how to grocery shop or use a credit card.
That's what for the top of the piano's for.
And then you just left. But she's like, you learned how to do it, right? And I'm like, I did learn. And then I was like, you all right? You don't have to teach your kid how to do anything. And then I thought to myself, well, I still don't really know how to do it because all I did is found another girl,
Crystal,
to live with. That just did everything for me. And then I was like, this works.
And her parents taught her stuff.
It's your second mom. You got to find a second mom. And then see what I'm planning on, I have a 3-stage process. First mom, Carol A. Dennis, taught me some stuff. Second mom, Andrea Dennis, things are going great. But, I may drive her crazy. There enters third mom.
Third daughter.
Hotter. Or it could be my daughter.
Oh, yeah. I thought you meant your daughter was just taking care of you at an old age.
You did mention something that happened yesterday 2 nights ago during dinner. Maisie made me dinner. And she made me hamburger helper, and as we ate it, she tweezed the old man hairs out of my ears. Yeah, that's what we did. I wrote that down. Yeah, that's what we did.
Honest to God, I was thinking about making my wife shave my ears the other day.
Yeah,
it's out of control.
You need a daughter.
And I do.
You need a daughter. I'll loan you mine. If you come 1 p.m., if you're here at 1 p.m., she'll come on Thursday. She'll tweeze your ears. Yeah, I'll get her to tweeze your ears. That's not weird.
Don't say you're loan your daughter.
But no, it's weird. It's a weird thing. Daughters are weird. This is something that she's into figuring out. So, whatever. I'm not going to, I'm a traditionalist and, I'm glad it's going this way.
Oh, but before we started the show, we were talking about exercise.
We haven't started yet?
And we were.
We never really know when we start.
So my point was, if you were able to sleep in a pod that somehow stimulated your muscles enough to not have to do any workout, and
if you're just joining us, this was Tom's point before we started recording.
Yeah. That's why we're circling back. Yeah. We're circling back.
And then it was able to somehow control your, or you had some sort of Ozempic chemical that controlled your eating or whatever. I'm just saying.
Ozempicals.
I was with Dan. I saw it gently vibrating you some way to produce muscle stimulation or something. Those old timey jiggly machines where you put the band around you and it shakes a fat guy.
They had the fat belt they would put on you, and then we've had the TENS machines that you put the little silicone pad on you, right? That's kind of wet. What is that? It's like a gel pad.
Yeah.
And then you put it on your muscles, and then it shocks them in a pattern.
Electrically stimulates.
Yeah, that makes them contract, and then you're like, well, that's the same contraction as me lifting something, which is absolutely not the case. Right?
Well, I don't know. It may be similar enough, and I'm saying in the future. My whole point is
it's a tensing, but I don't know that you're you're overdoing it to the point where you're destroying the muscle you would with a bicep curl or
and
something.
You need to tear
and
the
it
muscle.
builds back.
Yeah.
I don't know that you're doing any tearing and building back with that tens.
Do you need the mental aspect of the hey, I am purposefully doing this hard work, or at least, think about how we evolved.
Wouldn't that be the joke? It's we get the pod, we sit in the pod, we come out, and we're like, why don't I look ripped? And it's because your mentality's not right. That would blow your mind. You'd hate that.
I was talking to Crystal about just how we live in society now, and there's some people did some research on people that lived like they used to live 100,000 years ago, some village, and they live old school. Sometimes in the Amazon or in Africa, you find people that are still living.
It's like a forgotten pocket.
Yeah. And then the aspect or the idea of suicide confuse them because their whole life is trying to survive. and that's all. It's hard to
Yeah,
survive.
suicide's a luxury if you think about it, right?
And that's like
I don't think I've ever really thought about that.
they because they've just grown up their whole lives.
I'm rich. I can kill myself.
Well, no, it's also just you're
Get enough free time to think about it.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you're bored, man.
And if your whole life you've been trying to survive, like it'd be bizarre to.
It would
one
be
day
a
kill
180.
yourself.
Yeah. It's the exact opposite of your entire purpose.
Anyway, so I wonder if like you could somehow be fit without the hard work. If it wouldn't fit, and you would be mentally unhealthy because, or would it be fine? I don't know.
Well, because so following what you're saying, because just the natural idea of regimented exercise,
or just the
prescribed at a
hard
certain
work.
time and done, with consistency, is part of like the mental aspect of that is part of the gift you get. It's not just the fit.
Yeah.
It's not just
Yeah.
the exterior of it.
I may be wrong because there's no evidence of it because we don't have that technology.
No, like my kid's graduating high school. Imagine that, he had worked for a year and saved up enough money to buy like his dream car.
Yeah.
Versus I'm just like, here's the keys to a car, kid.
Yeah.
Which one's he going to appreciate more?
Of
the
course.
one that he worked for. And I don't know about if you've had this transformation too, Tom, but like as a former fat guy who started doing stuff every day to make myself less fat, now, back then, I would have loved your little pod. I would have been like, yeah, I'll sit in the pod and get ripped doing nothing. That sounds awesome. Now, having done like not all, but like enough of the work to see results, I'm in the position where I'm like, oh no, fat people don't deserve that. Like, if now you gave, like, Ozempic kind of makes me upset.
Okay,
Like,
that's a very
I've
honest
been
answer,
fat
Rob.
my whole life, and the minute I decide to start improving myself physically and doing the work to get better, they come out with a miracle drug that just makes you skinny. Man, that makes me mad.
That is a very honest thing to say. Yeah, I can, and you can tell instantly who's on it. Like, who's, and then and I also feel good. There is a bittersweet thing. You look at it and you're like, well, you needed that, or right? Like, it's not a bad thing.
No. I mean, obviously,
No, if it
do
helps
whatever.
people, great.
Do whatever.
It just makes me upset. that
Do
it's
what makes
easy
you
now.
happy.
Yeah.
Right.
No, yeah, 100%.
Right, and it teetered for a while. It was like it came out, and it was like, oh no, you got to be rich to do it. And then it's
Yeah.
like, well, hold on a second, let's figure this out. No, now you don't. And now they're saying oh, everybody could sort of benefit from being on a little bit of it.
We're like 5 minutes away from Ozempic water on shelves.
yeah, for sure.
But then you go back a little bit in time, and then there was a time in the world where being overweight was considered like a luxury, and
The most beautiful women would be the curvier ones that are kept and kept inside.
Does that
They
mean
don't
you're
want
rich?
Yeah, they had
correct.
Being fit mean you're poor, a peasant.
you want beautiful pink porcelain pigskin.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's
'Cause
what
being outside in the sun also is a sign that you were poor.
absolutely.
Yeah. Anyway,
That's why Florida is poor. Look at us. We're all out in the sun. Everybody looks at us, and it's still in the blood,
So Daniel told me about it was called the Bop House, and it's essentially a voyeur dorm style house, webcams.
And they just play
women in
Bop
there.
It?
No, it's more.
A BOP standing for Baddies on Point, meaning, I guess, the loose, I'm 48 years old and still saying this version is that it's girls that do make money with their bodies from OnlyFans.
Sure.
Is Baddies on Point.
And so it's essentially webcam girls that they all live in the house together.
Yeah.
You watch the house, then you can probably interact with them personally, and they, go into some private rooms.
They all put on half shirts and
Yeah.
try to do cartwheels all day. Yeah.
And from what I've been reading, everything that they do on normal, social media is very PG. A little midriff, bouncing around here, there.
Yeah, that's how you get the broad audience, and then you suck them into the membership.
But the membership is full on.
Yeah.
It might as well be any other. You might as well at that point be a pornographic actress.
That's the business model behind it.
No shame, just saying.
You got to get them engaged first, your audience as a broad audience, and then pull them in. It's the same. We do the same business model. We put out content, and then we hope to get BDMs, right? And then you get people to subscribe. And so that's
as opposed to the old model where they might sign with a porn company and
Yes,
then do films for them, and they wouldn't care about who watched it necessarily because they weren't. But now they're their own studio.
Yeah. And they get, and it really.
I will say the quality has declined. If we're just being honest,
Well,
as a consumer, you girls running your own business on OnlyFans, you don't put in the production qualities that those sleazebags in LA did.
Well,
they had digital skeletons and pirates fighting. There were lasers. There was Spider-Man where his makeup wouldn't come off.
Well, there's also the element of the producer or the boss asking the girls to do something they may necessarily not be comfortable doing, but they do it because the boss asked them to, instead of them.
You mean extreme influence and power?
Yeah, but not even. I'm not saying something negative or like wrong. I'm just saying something that they would normally not do themselves because
Right.
they're embarrassed by it. But the
Right, like in this scene, act
creepy guy.
racist.
Yeah, or whatever it
I've
is.
seen those.
And so now they're all going to just do what they feel comfortable doing, which may not be the extremes that the real perverts want.
Yeah, if you take out a true visionary director, yeah. Let's just say a lot of your Tim Burtons have fallen to the wayside. You know, we're getting a lot of just regular old movies.
But the reason I bring this up is Daniel said in some story he read that they were making $10 million a month.
Yeah, $10 million a month.
And that is
collectively,
insane
so it's
money.
only 8 girls.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I guess that's where, I mean, yes, is it a bit of an inflation for the headline? Yeah, but it's still the right amount of money. Like, it's still $10 million spread over 8 girls inside one house.
with barely
A month.
any overhead. Like and that's the thing, when you're making that much money, even if you had 30 employees, like with like tech guys working, and it's not even that much, but let's say it's probably 20 behind the scenes, and then like the 8 main girls, making that much revenue a month is insane.
What's the turnover though? Like they can't keep this up long, like mentally or physically. I can't imagine they could keep this up very long.
Well, you bring up something interesting. I mean, this has been done before. Were you going to talk about that? I mean,
Yeah. Well, it started.
Tiffany's sleepover.
Well, I mean, honestly, where
that
do you
was
think,
just a
where do you
ripoff
think
from
that? Yeah.
the Voyeur Dorm.
That was a ripoff from the original Tampa Voyeur Dorm,
Yeah,
which
yeah, yeah.
was, and we had to look it up to see. I had my dates way off. I said 01, 03. I was throwing out dates. Tom and I were talking off air. Wrong. 98.
What?
1990.
Pre Y2K.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
It was
impressive.
the beginning of the internet, really, and it just goes to show you the power.
Yes, it launched August 1998, was a pioneering adult-themed website that streamed the daily lives of women living in Tampa, Florida. The house was equipped with numerous webcams. Subscribers paid a monthly fee. Do you remember the monthly fee? I had to look this up. It was $34.95 a month. And then if you wanted to chat with the girls, you'd have to pay an extra $16 a month.
Interesting.
And they had 80,000 members at their peak, paying all of that.
yeah.
Florida pioneers, dude.
Dude,
Yeah.
crazy. Crazy lawless state, just doing crazy things, right? Oh, my
It's
God.
the best. I will never leave.
But me and Daniel were talking about back then. It was like there was some sort of boss, and they were just paying the girls. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And so,
Yes.
and we were talking, but we did the math. It was like 2.8 million. They were pulling in a month.
And that's
And-
before Biden, so those are way less
98.
inflated
Yeah,
bucks.
think of
yeah.
1998, like
2.8
like,
million a month.
Like you're getting that a month. I can't wrap my dumb little brain around that.
And it's kind of like an Ashley Madison scenario. By the way, that documentary is crazy fascinating for anybody who wants to watch it. But the power of lonely
Dolly
men.
Madison's sister. She also in the bakery.
The power of horniness, especially with male horniness.
Yeah.
You're finally announcing the new name of the show.
Hey, if you could somehow harness it,
horny
it's
man's
just
guide
so
to horniness.
valuable.
Oh, man.
And because it's
Just like some sort of generator on everybody's left wrist.
I mean, just the amount of money you could possibly make, and then it's crazy.
SJ in the chat room says, I know one OnlyFans model I helped with editing. She makes $300,000 a month. She was paying him $1,000 a video. Just here, help out. Here's a grand.
But again, though, people hear this and you're like, oh, I want to start OnlyFans.
Yeah, LonelyFans. Yeah.
That's a different website. But it's like you have to have a following first, and then you have to filter those people down. You can't just start it from zero.
Or be
and
willing to do something that would truly set you apart. If you are starting
now,
from zero, you better be here's what I'll say. You better be known as Rhonda, the 2-liter lady.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Something unique.
Yeah, you better be Rhonda, the 2-liter lady.
Do you know what? I disagree because all of those girls all they do is all the same stuff. Like, you don't want to differentiate yourself in any way. You just want to do the same dumb meme video thing that everybody's doing and be hot and be wearing a half shirt.
Yeah,
and that's it.
Well,
Like, none of them do anything original or like produce anything. And some of them, you start flipping through a couple hundred videos, they do the same videos over and over and over again.
They do,
They'll just repeat themselves even. It's ridiculous.
But what I'm saying is you need a following
Yeah.
to be able to get those people to pay the monthly subscription, and only a portion of that huge following is like, you can't start from nothing.
Well,
really.
then the people that you do see do it correctly are the ones that will start from scratch, right? Then they'll start collaborating, and then they're doing videos with other people,
Right.
and then they're appearing with this person, and it looks, honestly, it looks just like any other job, like
It
just
is.
as
It is.
difficult or harder, and not very fun. It doesn't look. It really does not look, because I'm sure the behind the scenes, if it's anything like this, it's not all fun here. I mean, I'm sure.
Yeah, everything turns into a job.
Yeah.
If you want to turn it into a job. Some people don't, though.
True.
And that's interesting as well, too. And I want to talk to Ross about that, in another segment.
Everything is relative because there's plenty of guys like in a truck right now with no air conditioning, and their buddy that they work with smokes cigarettes all day and they hate it, and there's not a pinball machine or snacks or anything.
True.
So everything's relative.
Oh yeah,
No,
very blessed,
right.
very blessed.
100%.
Very blessed.
Infinitely relative,
Oh, yeah.
almost.
Yeah. We'll gladly kiss your sock
All right.
feet.
Dude.
Yeah, I'm very happy.
Okay, we will see you tomorrow.
Welcome back to A Corporate Time.
So the Pee Wee Herman documentary, it's on HBO Max right now. It's 2 parts, like both an hour and a half, and it is phenomenal.
Yeah, he used the term phenomenal. By the way,
Yeah.
I'm going to give you an award for saying the name of the channel correctly. It is back to HBO Max.
Okay, I know that.
It was HBO Max, then it went to Max, and
Right.
then they're like, no, we're going back to HBO
Yeah.
Max. It's back to HBO Max.
So, and again, I don't want to ruin anything because I want people to watch it like I did, and don't look up. I did not know how Pee Wee Herman started, how the character started, like how it ended up even being a TV show, all this stuff. So discovering it was part of why I thought the documentary was so good.
So it was fun to you to learn something completely new. It's like a biography.
Because most of the time I go into things knowing kind of the story.
Yeah,
we know
even
so
the
much-
questions you ask people. We learned that last. We learned that
How
last
do you know the
segment.
answer?
Yeah, this guy, he know everywhere he's going. He knows
Yeah.
exactly where he's going.
Yeah.
And but it's great and also sad in what happened to him at the end, and then the controversy, because it's so stupid. And I know we've joked about it before, but like it happened in Sarasota, an adult movie theater.
Yeah.
He
And-
choked Terry the pterodactyl to death.
And it's insane that they were actually doing some sort of sting in an adult theater. And then also another aspect of this that didn't help is it was limited media at the time. This was obviously pre-internet.
Yeah.
And so where you're just watching the news and that's all you had, news and newspaper, right? And so the story is like, Paul Rubens, Pee Wee Herman exposes himself, right?
Yeah.
And when you say exposed himself, it sounds way more nefarious just by reporting the fact
yeah.
of like he was charged with exposing himself, blah, blah, blah. And then when you hear that without knowing, and there's no other way to really dive deep into the story because you're just watching the
You just
evening
get what they
news.
feed you.
Yeah. And then you're like, oh my God. This guy's a monster. And there's like,
you
no.
do. Pee Wee Herman pulled his penis out.
Yeah, he was like,
On set, I assume.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
with children
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Everyone was
Obviously.
there.
yeah, and then he's at an adult movie theater, and it was partly because another thing I didn't know, and maybe this was general knowledge that I just didn't know. Like
That's your arch enemy.
he was Pee Wee Herman and doing interviews and kind of keeping his real self like secret.
Paul Rubens.
Yeah, Paul Rubens. So he was basically all the interviews.
was separate, for sure.
And he was on Dave Letterman.
Like Larry the
Letterman
Cable Guy now.
Yes,
Like
yeah.
Larry the Cable Guy comes out as his character, Larry the Cable Guy, 99% of the time. He's just some dude.
Dan Whitney.
Yeah.
And so he never shows Dan Whitney.
No,
and,
that guy never gets interviewed.
Yeah.
I
And
think once in a while, but yeah.
yeah, but he would come. So it was essentially that same aspect, and then so I didn't realize how secretive it was, and that played into when he finally got this charge that everybody was like, whoa, because he looked like Charles Manson in his mugshot.
Oh, he had like the big wire rim glasses,
Yeah,
shiny,
long
he had, like,
hair,
longer
goatee.
hair. He kind of looked like me.
But
I look like somebody that would be arrested in an adult theater.
Like, as a dinosaur who was alive at the time, you just thought Pee Wee Herman was Pee Wee Herman. You had no idea. You thought that dude that showed up in Pee Wee's Playhouse was like who he was, and then he walked around in that suit all the time, and he talked like,
you know what's funny? We've
Probably rode the bike.
we talked about the trope of dad prop jokes before on the show. What I mean is that back in the day, dads notoriously would carry around little bits of paper, or other dads would trade jokes with them. And I'll never forget, my dad had what he called the Pee Wee Herman popcorn bucket, which was a folded up popcorn bucket from like an AMC theater, and somebody had cut a hole out of the bottom of it.
Oh, that's
And he had it in his top drawer. And he was like, look, I got Pee Wee Herman's popcorn bucket. It became a joke. It became a whole thing. Everybody's laughing about it.
But if he had that popcorn bucket, they wouldn't have caught him.
Yeah, exactly.
But imagine that cop that was assigned to go into the adult movie theater and bust
what
people
you're doing. You know what
that are doing that.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous. It was like,
it's like you go to a bathhouse and arrest people for taking showers. You know, it's like we know why they're there.
And then
it's a pornographic theater, for Christ's sake.
But because of that one thing, it ruined his entire career until he came back, and we all know that part of it.
We had to come back to terms with masturbation ourselves as a society, right? To be okay with like, not a big deal anymore.
In
right?
public as well, yeah.
Yeah. But you say in public, and it's like it's in an adult movie theater with a
public.
couple other dudes that are doing it.
It's like,
and they may be wanting to meet each other because
I'll
I think
show
it was
you
a
public.
gay movie.
Public is I'll sit out here in the grass. That's public.
Public to me is like less than 3 doors between me and the world.
Also, another interesting thing I found that was fascinating of the movie is that he came out with like a Pee Wee Herman Christmas special that he had huge stars on, like Oprah was on and stuff like this. Is before the scandal. And this was after like Big Top Pee Wee or whatever. Like,
I kind of remember. It was like a stage thing, right? Or the early ones were stage things, and then he went to the TV show.
Yeah, this was the part of the TV show,
Okay.
but it was like just this big special.
Okay.
And in the special, like there was, and he admits it in the thing. He's like, I would work in like gay culture, something like during the special they were like they open up a door and like there people were building a room of fruitcakes, right?
Oh, that's hilarious.
And like by bricks, and then inside the room was 2 dudes with their shirts off, ripped dudes, like obviously like tiny dukes, like construction dukes with their shirts off, like worker belts, like YMCA construction worker dudes, like building bricks of fruitcakes, and like that was in the Pee Wee Herman
so he's
special.
hiding little things for him and his own.
This is a joke. I mean, it started off as an adult thing, but you know what? I don't want to give away too much. But that is funny because that would have caused an uproar in a society that was social media. But before that, like they were able to get away with it, I guess, because it happened. It was a scene. It was so absurd. Like everything about Pee Wee's Playhouse is so absurd. Like he hit it. And like I feel like it would have been
that chair talks.
but you know what I'm saying? This is in the 80s. Like it was
a goddamn clock on the wall talking to me.
Like the 80s and 90s, like people are homophobic.
That's the word of the day.
Like to get away with that in such a homophobic society is impressive to me, and it goes to show you that like everybody watching Pee Wee, because there was adults. I didn't realize that it was a lot of college kids and adults like Pee Wee's Playhouse.
Oh, it was very adult. I
stoners?
remember one of the first times I realized it was adult is Pee Wee. There was a sketch where he's doing something. It was very early on, and he's talking to the hot girl that would come over. He always had like a hot girl character. She'd come over, and he was like, and he had mirrors on his shoes. On the tops of his shoes. And then I'm like, oh, okay. Like I knew. I was like, that's absolutely not appropriate. Like I knew that this was like also
the character was an adult comedy groundlings show.
Yes.
That's how it was for, but it was this character.
Same class as like Elvira, right?
Yeah. Elvira.
Yeah, they came out of the
Phil
kind of the
Hartman.
same group.
Wow.
But
Phil-
just character wise, there was a lot of really cool characters that came out of that group.
There was.
Like the idea of him, like he was taking on like the kid sensibilities, but into a full grown man. But the gay thing like, and his personal homosexuality felt very guarded.
Yeah,
right?
oh yeah, he had to hide it.
Yeah.
He felt like he had to hide it.
I'm sure.
I like just learned he was gay.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. A lot of people wouldn't know.
Interesting.
Yeah.
No,
Bisexual,
yeah.
I think. Maybe,
I don't think.
know.
I think I
But
was
he
a
didn't-
late confirmation of that too. Like way late. People are like, "Oh yeah, Paul Rubens has always been gay," and I'm like, "Well, I mean."
So the biggest shocker to me though, as I watched this, and I was like, man, I'm glad that they came out with this, and almost didn't happen. He also, you could tell that he was an artist through and through, like pure art. Like that, it's like,
Yeah.
and also like seemingly hard to work with because he had a vision. He wanted exactly that.
Sure.
But I was like, man, Pee Wee Herman is such a huge like brand, and like so, and especially in our culture, you know what I'm saying? Like a widely recognized name. Like I feel like anybody 40 to 60 knows Pee Wee Herman.
Yeah, if,
right?
if you were in my, like, I'm 48. Yeah, it hits the nail on the head for me.
And so I was like, well, how much money did he make? And I looked it up, and I was like, man, that is sad that because it's such a huge, like, to be that popular and not being able to monetize it, because back then you had little control over how much really money you made because you had to get paid by someone.
I mean, you would
instead
think
of
that
making your own money.
You would have thought that he would be extremely comfortable just based on the kitschiness of nostalgia merchandising.
And like 2 movies, right? There was
Big
Big Adventure and Big Top Pee Wee.
Yeah.
So like 2 films under his belt.
Yeah. And now I don't know if this is right, who knows, but it's like his net worth, they said, the internet says only $5 million. And I was like, God.
Well, didn't he have some maybe some drug and alcohol issues?
Yeah, but
Probably after.
But
yeah.
that, I mean, you could, just to give you an example.
And he
like
bought some properties, I thought.
He had this nice property in Hollywood Hills that he kind of lived with a close group. He was very a private person.
Yeah, reclusive.
So
kind
that
of.
was part of the reason too that like the world went crazy, because then no one knew anything about it. So then when this Paul Rubens had this scandal, it blew up so big because it was such a mystery, and people were like, oh, like they didn't know, and there's no way to find out. Again, no internet, no social media, so everybody was in the dark about everything.
It was a big scandal, and he was super private. So you're getting a peek behind the curtain of somebody who never lets that happen.
And of course, if they're hiding things behind the curtain, we think,
even better.
Obviously, he's a bad guy because he's hiding things.
Exactly.
Not true.
But if he had the ability to have social media, the internet back then, Pee Wee Herman would have. I mean, who knows if it would have been as popular, because it seemed also like people were starved for a different type of entertainment in the 80s, because there was only, let's say 20 channels.
Yeah.
And it was like it was kind of like cable TV, MTV was coming out, but
Not a lot of mainstream weird.
Corporate had control of everything.
Yeah.
Corporate entertainment.
Not a lot of mainstream weird.
So anything off the beaten path or were considered avant-garde or weird, like people were like craving, So when that came out, everyone's like, "Oh, this is
it seemed
weird."
authentic. Also, it came from a stage show.
Yeah.
So the
Right.
fact that it was kind of loose around the edges, and and all the different characters, I can remember how. Like, okay, think about this. I haven't watched Pee-wee's Playhouse in, 30 years, let's just say, or something? I don't know. But I can remember John B. the Genie. I remember Terry Pterodactyl, the bully guy that was the other puppet.
Oh, yeah.
I forget that guy's name. I mean, you'd have Cowboy Carl would stop by.
The postman.
Yeah, the postman would stop by. You'd have the hot lady that would stop by.
Cowboy Carl, Morpheus.
Yeah. But like all of those characters were so, I mean, that's just good writing, I guess. I mean, from Paul Rubens' standpoint, like he fleshed out really good characters that were really weird and really kind of stick in your brain.
And when the artist has full control over everything, and that's what it seemed like, he had full control, that it becomes super odd.
What was the robot?
They show, it's all in this documentary. It's and then a lot of those are came from the original Groundling show, and like all his friends.
And it was a weird evolution
improv.
where it was Groundlings, right? And then they did the stage show, and it was like a kids show but for adults.
Yes, yeah.
correct.
And then for some reason they said, you know what? Let's make it a real kids show.
Yeah.
And
After the movie, which another kind of
did the Big Top Pee-wee came first?
Yes,
Or
yes.
Big Adventure came first?
Yes,
Yeah.
Big Adventure.
No kidding.
That's a Mandela
It
effect
was
for all of us,
yeah.
because me and Crystal, we were like, we did not realize the movie came first, and then the kid show came after
Interesting.
that.
Was it like maybe not popular, and then the show happened, and then maybe they re-released it? Because
he turned that show, the small show, into a tour, and then a huge United States tour, and that tour turned in. It got so popular, they turned the tour into the movie, and the movie into the television show.
And then just tell me the rest of the documentary.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
There's a bunch of other
Yeah.
surprises, and I was like, whoa! Anyway, it's a great. one.
Conky was the robot, and it was and it was Mrs. Yvonne.
Oh yeah.
That was the hot girl. Everybody in the chat room, if you were a young man of age, like there's something about her B-52's big bouffant haircut and her dumb like rockabilly, like I don't know, there's something about that said to us as young men, we were like, yeah, I'm into that.
Well, just to show you the power of the internet today versus someone like Paul Rubens and Pee Wee, right? The show was so big, and Pee Wee Herman's such a memorable character, right? And he only made, the internet says, $5 million, right? Bad Baby made $25 million. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like Queso, someone that no one even knows who he is, has made 2.5, half of Pee Wee.
Mr. Beast has gone over $1 billion. Now.
Yeah, well, that's people recognize. But I'm just saying, all these these YouTubers that know Unspeakable has made more than Pee Wee. People had no idea. I've never even heard of this person has made double what Pee Wee Herman has made, and just because of the time he was in entertainment.
Yeah.
And so much more.
And he got
talent.
cut short. He got cut short.
He did, yeah.
He would have had a whole another 20, 30-year career.
Yeah, they got him. They ruined him.
Yeah.
And then I often think, too, I was like, if that didn't happen, would it be as infamous? Too.
So
that plays into it. Like,
so you
say,
mean
say the
no matter
adult theater.
what, the adult theater aspect of it helped him.
After death, like say, okay, we're all gonna die anyway, and he died in at 70.
That's the new name of the show.
Wait,
by
what's
the way.
this?
Yeah, it's
So-
a new show we're doing called
Yeah.
We're All Gonna Die Anyway.
So, but if you had your option, you're like, okay, if this this could have happened or never happened. If it never happened, the Pee Wee character would have gone on for another 20 years. It would have been, you'd have made a lot more money, but it would have probably had a life and a death, and maybe not be as infamous as it is now, because that added such an interesting part and weird part of your life story that it is like almost a tragic ending.
They made him
part
human.
of it.
It made him human, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
He made him flawed. It was a great mistake that, I think we can, well, it wasn't really. I mean, he got...
But would it have been as infamous if it didn't happen? And I was like, would you have chose that? Like, okay, one is you have a life without this, and it really did seem to affect him to a point where, like, obviously.
Well, I think he was villainized, right? Like he
Yeah,
went
right.
from just
And
being a
he got
normal
worse.
gay man doing what normal gay people do, because we all
Perform.
do it.
Yeah.
And then
or anybody in adult theater.
correct.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what
yeah,
an
yeah.
adult theater's for. I'm just trying to be careful. But yeah, and then we're like, oh, look at you, villain, and then probably got called a pedophile. Well, that's not the case.
That came later because he collected like a bunch of erotic
But
art.
you just connect the dots.
Yeah, and then they tried to get him raided his house, and then he began
Do you remember
labeled a
that? When
pedophile.
he had a whole huge collection. I remember this it was always talked about in the news as being called like pop kitschy art. They always use the term kitschy. It's where I learned the term.
Okay.
And for whatever reason, I guess some of it would have been considered like the portrayal of younger people or something. So they tried to roll it into it's like a.
It was like 1960s gay art, and then like one of the images was like a young man that looked like almost.
Prepubescent or young.
Well, yeah, they made him. It was kind of like part of the art was to make him look extra young. It was
Right.
kind of- I mean, essentially, like having if you had some sort of art of like barely legal or something, you know,
Yeah.
and then there's
let's
some
say
girl
you
in
took
pigtails.
Let's say you took a radio intern and put her in a baby pin and made her wear a diaper. Let's just say somebody did that.
And then so it's like anyway, and then and it also goes to show you that once it gets out on the media and there's like a headline, that it doesn't matter what the actual truth is.
The reality.
It's just that the headline
Right.
kills everything,
Yeah.
and then and no, it doesn't even matter. The world moves on, even if it you get exonerated later, no one cares. No, they don't report that because that's not the story. And it's like sad. It's
and
like
we're talking about the
God,
time we just got through gay cancer, like people saying really hateful and horrible things.
Way
about,
different time
about homosexual people and people, of LGBT.
No one's running to their defense,
No.
as especially the media when there's limited media. It's just the people. God, you forget that there was a time where it was like news anchors and newspapers and and that's who gave you the news. That's how you found stuff out. It's weird.
Are you trying to make an argument that if that had happened recently, he would have been able to fight back easier?
Well, the world
right?
can find out the truth instantly.
Correct. You could have a publicist kind of come out and you could hit it. You could try to hit it a little more head on. He didn't have the luxury of doing any of that. We just saw that mugshot, which was so damning, right?
Yeah,
the mugshot plus what he was doing, that's all we needed. And that's so unfortunate.
Just going from we only know him as Pee-wee to that mugshot, it was just such a coin flip. Yeah,
it didn't even matter.
Yeah,
and then so
it was a perfect storm.
Yeah, and everybody's like, oh, look at that. And it's like, we don't even know what's happening here.
But that's what I'm saying.
You just got done doing that.
But because... But because of that
3 doors behind them.
perfect storm, then it's almost like now he's way more infamous than he ever would have been. And I wonder if that...
He definitely had, I think he would probably say net negative overall, but he definitely reached more people with that story than Pee-wee did.
But if I'm trying to guess, to answer your question, I'll go back to it. Pure artist, he would trade it all to have a nice, steady... 40-year run. Pee-wee's still killing it without that blemish because it was always about the art, never about the money or the infamy or anything.
And for that person, he got negated from work, and that's the worst possible outcome is
being
that he didn't get to work
and not able to work. Yeah, I think he'd rather because I think you're talking about the type of guy that even if he had never become famous. At 60, 70 years old, he'd still be, if he really loved that character, would still be performing it.
Do you remember his first thing back?
When he came back?
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
I don't.
Did this come up in the documentary?
I
think it was in Batman. He was the Penguin's dad. Was his first big role back.
Oh, his acting role.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer was another one that.
Yes, he was the sidekick.
He's a vampire.
Yeah. He was like Spike's sidekick or something.
Interesting.
He came back as Pee-wee too after and MTV Music Awards. He came out.
He would guest a lot.
Yeah. And then so even when he was older. And it's just weird. Crystal has a Pee Wee Herman doll.
Oh my god!
Yeah, right next to her Satchmo doll.
And
she has a collection of strange man dolls.
We had one when I was a kid, and when we moved Pennsylvania to Georgia, my mom insisted the movers stole it, and that it would be worth $1 million today.
It is worth. They're worth a lot of money.
How much money?
On the weekends, I used to go and hunt for these with Drew Garabo. Drew Garabo's got a couple of them. We could have gone live on Live with Drew. Drew's got a couple.
Pee Wee Herman dolls.
Oh, Drew's a massive Pee Wee Herman.
The one he pulled the string that talks. That's what we had.
I went with him. We would smoke weed, get in his GTI, and drive all around Orlando looking for Pee Wee Herman dolls for a bunch of old perverts. Me and Drew, ask him. Anyway, text Drew Garabo about. He used to collect, and probably doesn't so much anymore. But he used to have. He had all the dolls. They worked and were really good condition. He had, and I've never seen it anywhere other than Drew Garabo. He had the play set in its entirety with all the what are they, 7-inch figurines?
Yeah.
He had the whole thing, and then we were only missing one. I say we because listeners would try to help. Hey Drew, and I think we were missing the clock, the yellow map clock person, whatever that thing was.
Also, too, it was a sign of the times where the production companies, the studios, big corporate media were baffled by the success of it because they were like, this is bizarre. Why does anybody like this?
This isn't like all the other crap we're putting out.
It was why does anybody like this scenario where they were confused by it. So he was also battling that where they were like, this is insane. Like, this is a crazy
Be more like Scooby-Doo.
And it is.
Right.
When you're watching Pee Wee Herman, you're like, why do we even like this? It is a weird because it's like, what is it about this character? It's just like the oddness of it.
Yeah,
and
everything was
weird.
wild. I enjoy it.
Weird.
I remember getting so pumped up to see what the snack he was going to eat at the end would be using the contraption. You know, because he'd have some sort of weird contraption that would help him make a snack or whatever. Like I legitimately it was like appointment setting TV for me.
Me and my sister would
Saturday
lose
morning.
it for word of the day. When the word of the day, we would be screaming in the living room with everybody else. Yeah.
Conky. Oh, God bless you, Conky.
He also had a super diverse cast, and
true.
he had
different races, ladies.
One, and he was talking about during a Pee Wee Herman episode, he played like a 30-second Spanish claymation style cartoon in only Spanish, and then the TV executives were like, "You gotta subtitle this." He's like, "No, I don't want to." He's like, "No, we don't have to." And then he just played it. And there's it's bizarre in the 80s. You just play like Spanish, cartoon in the middle of this that you'd only understand if you knew Spanish, which is an odd, interesting thing to do.
It's a twist.
At a time where no one was doing anything out of the ordinary.
And they deem that as risky and a waste.
Yeah. In fact, I would predict now, if that came out now, it would just be lost in the shuffle of nonsense. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
like,
but
it'd
now,
never stick out.
Well, culturally, we're different, right? Like now, I
You get everything.
There's a lot of nonsense going on right now. And then, so I don't know. Because it was our nonsense. And at that time, there wasn't a lot on TV.
That's what I'm saying.
None, really.
There's nothing.
Today's version would be like if you did a Pee Wee version of like an influencer house. If you like that house where all the streamers are in, but like a little twist here and there,
Yeah. I guess Blippi, but also he's like
that's a standard kid show.
It is, and it doesn't push the limits.
And he never hit anything for adults in there.
Yeah. And
Pee Wee was actively, or Paul Rubens was actively hiding stuff in there. And you're right. I think you nailed it. You couldn't get it past the censors now because there'd be too many people that would be like, you made a.
You couldn't get away with two guys with their shirts off building a fruitcake thing because they would be like, "Oh, you get the Midwest grandmas will go crazy if you put this in there."
See, I think they would have said no to it then too if they would have caught it. But he just built such a house of goofiness. They were just it's just one more goofy piece of the puzzle, and they missed it. You got to sneak it past these idiots.
Anyway, it's great, man. I suggest that if you are our age, you watch it.
Yeah,
because
especially
it's
if you're a fan of
fascinating.
Real happy ending. It's got a happy ending.
Yeah. Well, interesting. I mean, everybody knows the ending.
true.
I mean, we can celebrate him now, though. That's happy.
Titanic made a lot of money.
It did.
That Titanic sub documentary is coming out on Thursday. Crystal wants me to watch.
Oh, God.
The implosion is a whole.
Have you seen the video of the lady?
Yeah, the wife.
And then she turns around. She goes, "What was that?"
No. And that's an interesting way they market these documentaries now. They just release that clip, and then everybody's like, "Oh, I've never seen this before."
That almost made me not want to watch it. That rattled my bones, dude.
Rough.
Yeah, because that. Yeah. Anyway, there's I think that kid. I know he's 19, but I still think about it. He's down there with his dad.
Yeah.
He's like, "Are we safe?"
They happen fast, though. I guess that was good. We will be right back.